We have some breaking news that we are very sorry to report, and that is that Dolly Parton has died. Country music has no bigger or more.
She said their last conversation was about music and metamorphosis. 4 words. That is all Miley Cyrus gave the world before going quiet again, buried inside a tribute to her godmother, Dolly Parton, who had just died. 4 words that carry more weight than they seem, because Dolly Parton did not do small talk. She did not spend her final private moments on pleasantries. If Dolly sat down with Miley and talked about transformation, she meant it as a directive, a roadmap, a commission. And if you know the relationship, the real one, the private one that lasted more than 3 decades behind the cameras, you understand exactly what she was telling her to do. Billy Ray Cyrus and Dolly Parton had been friends long before Miley was born. They shared stages, wrote songs, and understood the same Tennessee roots. When Miley arrived in 1992, Dolly agreed to be her godmother, not a ceremonial title, but a real one. Miley grew up calling her Aunt Dolly. She learned to sing by listening to Dolly's records in a small house near Nashville. As a little girl in Tennessee, music wasn't just entertainment, it was the language Dolly taught her to speak. Dolly would visit, sit with her, and show her how to hold a note without forcing it. Those early lessons were private, patient, and unhurried. Then came 2006. Miley became Hannah Montana, suddenly one of the most famous children on earth. The pressure was immense. But Dolly had walked that same fire in the 1970s, from Sevier County poverty to global icon in a decade. She knew what fame cost. When Dolly appeared on Hannah Montana in 2007, the cameras caught the fun. What mattered more was what happened off-screen. In quiet conversations, Dolly guided Miley through the chaos, not with instructions, but with presence. She showed her how to stay grounded when the world wanted to consume her. That bond was never about the show, it was about survival. Dolly became the steady voice Miley could trust when everything else shifted, and she never stopped being that voice. When Miley Cyrus stepped onto the VMA stage in 2013, the world turned on her overnight. Tabloids called it a meltdown. Critics declared her finished. But one voice never wavered, Dolly Parton's. In every interview, when reporters pressed for judgment, Dolly said the same thing. I love Miley. I'll always love her. Whatever she does, I'll always be there for her. She didn't qualify it. She didn't distance herself. She stood in front of the cameras and refused to let her goddaughter be discarded. The industry has a short memory for child stars who grow up too publicly. Dolly knew that. She had lived it. In 1974, when she left Porter Wagoner's show and faced her own avalanche of criticism, she learned what it meant to need someone who wouldn't leave. For Miley, that someone was Aunt Dolly. During the years when public opinion felt like a hurricane, 2013, 2014, the Bangers Tour, the Wrecking Ball, the constant reinvention, Dolly never flinched. She didn't offer advice in public. She offered presence. She offered a door that never closed. And on the nights when Miley walked off a stage or a red carpet, exhausted by the noise, the phone would ring. It was Dolly. Not to criticize, not to correct, just to say, I see you, and I'm still here. That is what unconditional support sounds like. That is what unconditional support sounds like. No notes, no corrections, just love. There is a song Miley Cyrus keeps returning to, Jolene. She has sung it since she was a teenager, on television specials, in stadiums, alone with an acoustic guitar. Each time something different rises from her voice. The song Dolly Parton wrote in 1973 is about a woman afraid she is about to lose the man she loves to someone more beautiful, more powerful. It is a song about fear, about the moment before loss. Miley does not choose that song by accident. She understands what it means to stand in the shadow of something larger than yourself. But listen beyond the lyrics. Listen to how Miley sings, that chest voice, that willingness to let a note crack open with emotion, that refusal to smooth over the ache. She learned that from Dolly. Dolly Parton never sang from her throat, she sang from her ribs. The sound was always raw, direct, and unpolished in the most intentional way. Miley carries that same signature. When she holds a long note in Jolene, you hear the Appalachian Mountains in it. You hear the recording studios of Nashville in the 1960s. You hear a woman who was taught that music is not decoration. It is confession. Dolly gave Miley more than advice. She gave her a vocal inheritance, a way to make a listener feel the weight of every word. And in Jolene, Miley returns to the one song that captures exactly what it means to love someone you are terrified of losing. In their final private conversations, Dolly Parton did not offer Miley Cyrus empty comfort. She spoke instead about music and metamorphosis. Dolly herself had lived through more reinventions than almost any artist in American history. From a Tennessee mountain girl to a country ingenue, then a crossover pop star, a film actress, and finally a philanthropist who changed millions of lives. Every decade, she had to become someone new while remaining the same person underneath. Her message to Miley was clear. Music is the tool. You use the song to process the change. Metamorphosis is not something that happens to you. It is something you write your way through. Dolly told Miley to write through this grief, to feel it fully, then use it. Because Dolly understood that grief never fully heals, but if you give someone a song, you give them somewhere to put their pain. This was not a farewell. It was a commission, a direction to keep going, to turn the loss into art. That was Dolly's final gift, not a comfort, but a purpose. And now Miley carries that forward into the music, exactly as Dolly instructed. Dolly Parton never believed she had done enough. She funded the Imagination Library, which has mailed over 200 million free books to children across the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Ireland since 1995. She donated $1 million to Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine research in 2020, a quiet check that helped save countless lives. Twice she turned down the Presidential Medal of Freedom, saying she hadn't earned it yet. In 2022, she accepted it anyway, standing in the White House in her trademark rhinestones, still slightly unsure she deserved the honor. She won 10 Grammys, a Lifetime Achievement Award, and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame only after protesting that she belonged in country music. But her deepest legacy was never the trophies. It was the way she loved people without condition, especially her goddaughter. Miley Cyrus ended her tribute with a promise that was really a commission. Dolly told her to feel it fully, then write a song. Not as a memorial, but as a map through the grief. Miley said she will always love her and will spend the rest of her life trying to make her proud. That is not just mourning, that is